Let's see. Hello, hello. Welcome every time of day. And my button is over there. Hello, welcome. Welcome Fritzels and Lynn and Haley and everyone else showing up real early to hang out. We almost had a Glad Hatter too. Welcome. We almost had a bit of a uncanny valley thing going on here because they reset my camera when we got it back from the repair shop, and I had forgotten to turn off strange things that are automatically on, like the soft skin effect that just sort of removes anything resembling pores and realism from the human face, and I think it looks incredibly creepy. And Soot was snoozing earlier, so I thought we would have to run the live with it, because I didn't want to chase her off. But she left to explore other things, so I could run off and turn that off, because I think I imagine other people might find it a bit unsettling too, no details on face, it's kind of weird. Hello, Miss Megan Beckett and everyone. Hello, Fruit Souls, and hello, Kelly. Haley is working on little crystal sweater, petal drop socks, creme mitts, and 9 p.m. tank. That's a lot of things to be working on. That's interesting. Yeah, I know, Lynn. I mean, what I find interesting is that it's on by default, which I assume is like, look at this thing we can do, like that our software can do. But I find it, yeah, for me, it very much hits that uncanny valley spot, and I'm like, there's something about that doesn't quite look like me, and I'm not sure what it is, but but my brain is reacting to something, and I'm kind of assuming other viewers might do the same as well. Gotta keep the dopamine gremlins happy? That is true. Although I assume you don't have enough hands to work on all of those things at the same time. I am still working on the crochet edging lace for the shawl we've been working on for many months, and I haven't gotten anything done since last we hung out on live together, so this is very good. I will get some progress. Good afternoon, Max. Welcome. I hope you have a good one. Frutzel says they are making, let's see if I can pronounce that, poffertjes for my son's birthday treat on his second day of school. How exciting. That sounds very nice. What else are people working on? It's a lot of interesting things. Ooh, is this just a series of single crochets over the entire thing? No, we're making a cover first. Okay, so that row is first. You looked up poffertjes? They look so yummy. Oh, there's so many good cakes from everywhere. Perfectly pronounced. I somehow doubt that, but thank you. Hello, Etienne. Welcome. Currently processing Dorset fleas into little clouds. How exciting. And Max had a good medical appointment, so that is very good. We love to see it, taking care of oneself. Lynn working on some sashiko again. How cool. It's always nice to get back to something when you've been away from it for a while. At least I think so. Oops. 1, 2, 3. That was the correct amount, I think. I mean, I've shown this off before, but I can show it off again. Look at this glorious lace crochet pattern. It is from a Japanese crochet book, and I am just in awe at Japanese crochet and knitting books because the details are just mind-blowing. Let's see, we are doing, oh no, the chains in between are changing. They're different for some of them. So we are doing 4, 6, 4, 6, 4. Okay, so it's evenly 4 and 6 and 4 and 6 chains in between the different things. Always a bit of a risk to, learn something live on stream, but we are a bit risky sometimes or we would never get anything done. I don't know if this applies to, I assume other people have it like that too, but when I was doing card weaving, I would usually only level up my skills because someone requested something in my local Viking guild, and I'm like, aha, now I have an excuse to do the thing. Because I wouldn't level up my skills for myself, I would forget or prioritize other things, but when someone else asked, it's always a very good excuse to learn something new. That looks not unsimilar to some of my bobbin lace pattern. I know, so much lace. I mean, they're trying to imitate each other, so you get all these fun effects that can be, there's the whole thing of filet crochet patterns that is made to look like, filet patterns done on net, and then, you embroider, so it becomes like a pixelated pattern, and, you have a whole style of crochet that is just made to emulate that. And I think that is really cool that you have all these techniques always emulating each other and making fun mixed media, results. Am says, I finally remembered it's Thursday. Hello everyone. Hello and welcome. I hope you have a good Thursday. We are having a chill start to the day. I try to remember to sometimes actually have my crocheting in the frame when I do not have a cat on lap. She was here earlier, but alas, she has abandoned us. Such is life with cats. Four. Always think you can count and then you start crafting or crocheting or something like that, or you're doing research in the lab and you just have to double check your formulas 10 times before you're absolutely certain that you put all the numbers in all the right spaces, just in case they change since last you looked at them. But how are everyone's Thursdays going so far? Are you just resting, or are you working on something, or is it just a quiet kind of Thursday time of day for you? We know Lynn is doing sashiko, which so many gorgeous patterns, and Haley is doing apparently 5 different things at once. And Etienne doing some, well, not spinning, but I assume carding, like turning that fleece into fluffy clouds. So we have a well of projects, as usual. Not like last time when I felt like at least 5 of us were crocheting, just as I myself was crocheting, so... Lynn says, yes, I've pipetted this thing 15 times already. Better check again, though. I know. Especially if you're doing arrays and you can't see if you've actually added the regent. It's so... At least if you're adding a big enough volume, you can tell by the size of it if it is, if it has been added. But when you're adding just tiny, tiny amounts of things, it can be a challenge. Haley says the gremlins helped me with the 5 different projects at once. It's very useful gremlins. Had an interview earlier today and now just having a restful late afternoon and not putting stuff off at all. Yeah, but if you have the opportunity, I mean, I knew I was always super drained after things like interviews and exams and various things. So I would just assume and sort of plan for, if I could, that the rest of the day was going to be a potato day where you just kind of do what you want to do because you've already done the difficult thing, and if at all possible, devoting the rest of the day to rest is very, very nice and more kind of, at least for me, more realistic than being like, oh yeah, no, I should study all these things for the next exam I have because I need to do that. Luckily, I was exceptionally lucky because in my university career, I had some classmates who had 2 exams on the same day. Absolutely awful. I always had at least one day in between each, which was very, very helpful because brain was toast after one. So I kind of hope for you that you have the opportunity to rest after such a big thing. Haley says the satisfaction of getting a 1.0 R2 value for your assay standard curve. Oh yeah. Or like 0.999 is also like pretty good. Feels pretty good. Getting those standard curves nice and straight is just, it's very, very satisfying. Although I will say, as we all do mistakes in the lab, I once made a 1,000 dilution error. So it was 1,000 times stronger a reagent than it should be. This curve was still straight, but the instrument was not entirely happy with, the strong solution, so we did have to clean the cone a bit. But to my credit, although it was pretty big mistake, I was also able to, when my supervisor was looking at the data, we were able to see it in my logs. My lab journal was accurate enough that I could tell where I had gone wrong. So at least the notes were good, even though the results were wrong. Gian says it was a chill morning at work, currently crafting and preparing myself mentally for an afternoon of meetings. Yeah, those can be a bit of a drain. I hope that goes well, that you get charged a bit with your crafting. Lynn says very visible 10 nanoliters. I know. And when the quantities are that small, it's hard to even get them out of the pipette. They're just kind of stuck. And you're just trying your best to sort of deposit it against a wall or something. Kelly says they have their workday in a few hours. So at least you have a little moment of rest in between, unless you have a very long commute. I mean, that could happen. A lot of people have that. Max is working on a pair of socks, and with the finish to 2-stitch. That is very nice. Body and the heel is already done, so working on the ankle part, well done. Are those the same socks you were working on other lives ago as well? For your mother, was it? Very nice. You're working very fast, or maybe it's just me who, I'm exceptionally slow. And Kelly is working on emotional support chicken number 3. Wow, so many everywhere. I'm just gonna go with, I'm exceptionally slow at crafting at the moment, and that's why everyone else seems to be just racing along with their projects, and here I am, still working on the same shawl almost a year later. Don't mind, though. It's better than rushing and ending up with something one is not happy with. Miss Megan Beckett is working on spinning on a tiny Turkish spindle. Oh, those are so cute. Ring die stuff and BFL, not familiar with that abbreviation, but at least you are spinning. That is very cool. But feeling nauseous and cramps, but hopefully the gravel and naproxen and stuff will kick in soon and I'll be able to surf the sensations. Well, I'm sorry you're in such pains. That is not very fun. I too hope your medication will help you with that soon. The first is chiming in that the emotional support chickens are incredibly cool. They are so cool and so cute. And if they bring someone a smile on their face, then they have done their job. I mean, then they are very much successful. Lynn asks the important questions. What are you going to do with your chicken army? Indeed, it is a very important question. Wait, why are you stuck in on previous rows? Pico, stop that. Reminded that you need to make that whale tonight. You have so many projects going on, Fritzl. It seems very, very busy, but hopefully you are having fun with it as well. Maybe you can start getting it ahead when... I don't know, does the cake need resting at all? I don't know. Haley says, I'm so impressed by anyone who can spin. Same. That little adventure with Evie was so much fun, but I'm also so impressed by just how consistent people can get it. I mean, Evie is a big pro, but still. And to think that people just spun and spun and spun and spun and spun all day long before the industrial, before the spinning machines, they would spin and spin and spin. And it was such a big part of the day. So much work in even the simplest of garments. Lynn says, I can spin, but I'm impressed by people who can knit. I guess it's always something. When you are capable of doing a thing, you see how it works. So it's kind of less magical, although it is still magical. So then you start admiring people doing things you can't do. Like, I am always in awe when I look at crafters working on like really pretty joints, like really pretty advanced versions of dovetail joints in woodworking and things like that. And especially some of the Japanese craftsmen have some really, really intricate interlocking joints without using any nails or anything, and they just look gorgeous. And it blows my mind. It looks like so much fun to make such gorgeous things. Can you tell I love the movie Chicken Run? Well, it is a fun movie. I watched it when I was younger, so no complaints. Ah, your dough needs to rise for an hour and a half, so that is definitely... Ah, but you also need dinner. I suppose dinner is kind of important, so... I swear, some of these chains just want to twist on me. Crafting can be a good coping mechanism when it comes to certain situations. Yeah, we have studied this. We even have like neurological... I was looking up this because I saw someone else make similar claims, and I believe it, but it's nice to be able to look it up and sort of check. And we have neurological studies confirming this, that because it is, a lot of crafting is a repetitive, soothing movement, and a lot of the times the crafter is familiar with the movement, so they can sort of do it without thinking too hard. It has a very, very nice soothing effect on the brain and can help us meditate on things that are difficult or prepare for things that we are not looking forward to. There are lots of good things, similar to, in many ways, meditation. You know, that repetitive movement that can be really good for our brains, especially if we're stressed. So if anyone is giving you grief for crafting, you can tell them, you know, it's a very good emotional regulation tool. Do recommend. Lovely weather for laying on a sofa near the windows. That sounds very nice. We've been having a cold spell, which has been really nice because we got a lot of snow, and it's so pretty when it's being bright white and laying outside, when it's proper cold so it doesn't just melt and turn to slush, is the best. So it looks like proper winter, which I do appreciate. Lynn says, I can do some very basic knitting, but I seem to have some kind of dyslexia for it. I suppose, yeah. I understand the topology of crochet just fine, but knitting is black magic. I mean, I can understand, because for me, for many years, the crochet was black magic too. Pardon. But I assume a part of that is also because crochet was black magic to my mother, and she couldn't really teach me, so I only had knitting for many, many, many years. And then a friend of mine who had crochet first, and then knitting, showed me, and now I can do at least some basic stuff. And it's amazing how far, I think, you can get with just the basic stuff. Because a lot of this is just plain crochet and chains and, yeah, variations around the same stitches, which is really cool. Can follow basic instructions, but as soon as I make a mistake, I can't fix it because I don't understand how the stitches work. Yeah, that can be very, very frustrating. Fixing mistakes is such a big part of like learning to master a craft. It's very hard in card weaving too, if you're doing complex patterns, to figure out how to unravel it and how to see where to unravel, and it can be very demotivating, and a lot of people just ignore it and just be like, mistakes are we have some card weaving pieces with mistakes, so they're kind of like just like piecing is period, you go mistakes are period, and you just go on with it because it's too difficult to unravel. So fixing mistakes is a bit like, I figure it's a bit like jokes in languages. Like they talk about, if you can make jokes and make people laugh in a language that is not your own, you are really starting to master the language, because humor can be such a nebulous thing. And I feel like it's the same for mistakes in crafting, that if you can actually fix the mistakes, you are really starting to gain some level of mastery over whatever craft you are playing with. Madam, what are you trying to hunt? Is there a fly? You know, you can't eat the wall. I'm just saying. Okay. Steve says, my late mom was a sewist, knitter, weaver, and spinner. So many. I took up sewing during the lockdown. I fear to take up knitting because we don't have the stash space. That is a problem. Although I know some people are able to be sort of really rigid with themselves and make sure that they buy only what they need and work on only a couple of projects at a time, so that they have kind of small, but if you allow it, yeah, the stash will definitely grow. I'm working on the same at the moment, where I'm trying to use what I have in the house for the next couple of years, probably, before I really need to start stocking up more than, you know, a color here and there. And I have so much material at the moment, it shall be no problem to go for a long time. So long as I plan my projects accordingly. Which I'm curious about how many people do this, because I feel like sometimes I will watch other crafters and their videos, and it seems like they planned a project first, and then they go hunting for supplies. And I do some of that too, but a lot of the times I will just be strolling and I will see something or a material or something secondhand, and I will be like, ooh, this would be a really cool X. Or it's just a good fabric all around, and I decide to buy it even though I don't know what to do with it yet, but something will come to me. And a lot of the time I will plan my projects, sort of my project ideas will come to me based on what I have in house. Sometimes I will buy materials for a project if I don't have any materials for it, but it's equally common that I go, I want to make this thing. What do I have that could fit it? Or this tablecloth would be a really cool X. So I'm curious about what you people are doing, because what comes first, the material or the project for you? Like, which do you have a pattern, or do you just, whatever you feel like in the moment? Lynn says, I've tried numerous times since I was a small kid, but this doesn't stick. That's a shame, especially if you've been wanting to learn it. I have to go ask my mother to fix my mistakes, which is a shame because I love knitted fabric. Yeah, that can be a bit of a shame. But at least they are there to help you. But yeah, I can understand that can get a bit frustrating when one wants to learn a craft. Fritzl says, I learned to knit and crochet from my mother, but had trouble with the knit stitches, so my crochet is much better than my knitting. Yeah, it's interesting how like some crafts just seem to stick better to some people than others. Not really any rhyme or reason, it's just some crafts resonate more with people than others. And I was talking to, I think it was Shannon about this, that I think that is a large part of I mean, we are a global world and there's a lot of different crafts because people live all over the place and develop cool ways of doing stuff, but also because different people have different brains and are going to gravitate towards different ways of creating similar, garments. And I think that is really cool. Like different cuisines and different languages, and it's just all a part of, all the glorious, beautiful ways that we are different but also similar. See, hey, this is for me with sewing, the material generally comes first, but for knitting, the project usually comes first, or the inspiration for multiple types of project, and then I go out and buy way too much yarn. Yeah, same. Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was saying it, because I was looking at the yarn that I bought for a sweater for Spouse, and that was bought specifically for that project, because I don't generally have enough yarn for a whole sweater just hanging around with no purpose. But with fabric, I might sometimes buy fabric because I'm like, that is a really cool fabric and I want to make something cool with it. I'm not sure entirely what yet, but it will be cool. Let's see, Etienne says, for yarn I buy it if I have a project, but for fibers I buy it if I find it pretty, which can be dangerous on a budget. Yeah, so that sounds kind of similar, that for some crafts it is project first and for some crafts it is materials first, which is interesting, like how our brains work with those kind of different preferences in some way. Lynn says they do both, mainly buy for specific projects, but I find something really cool, I'll get it for later. Yes, some materials are just too cool to pass up, like I really love my little green. I mean, it's a quilting fabric, but I hope to use it in things like linings of trousers or things like that, like small details in things. Is it over here? It is. I can grab it. Because I thought it was so cute, like it's little gold. Can you actually see this properly? Let me pull this out so I don't lose my way. But it has little green and gold scroll work. I've used it for my project. You can't really see that in the zoomy camera. It doesn't want to zoom. But it is green and it has gold scrolly work, and I think it is very pretty. And I used it for my little Husif, my little sewing bag. And I don't know what else I'm going to use it for, but it is a pretty thing. It shall become something glorious. And then spouse, of course, goes out and buys me other pretty things. Like, I have a stack here of stuff that is ready to go for when winter season rolls around again at some point. Here we have some acorns. I think this is really cute. And some leaves. I have no idea what to use this for, but look how cute it is. And then we have a couple of tiny, and they're not really the same, but I can hold them both up at once. But they're like, again, like really tiny little branches and gold stuff, and they're just tiny pieces. Like, they're just little fat quarters and tiny amounts of fabric, like just small things. And this one has tiny pine cones. Oh, you can't even see it, but on these little, there are tiniest pine cones, and they're so cute. I don't know what they will be used for, but they will be details for something, and I'm sure it will be glorious. Very pretty. It shall be good at some point. Birds of a feather flock together? Yes, this is very true. Steve flapping to be a bird with us. We like the pretties. You know, old crow instincts just kicking in. Fritzl says, for my sewing, I do both as well. So now I have a project list that is 20 items long. Yeah. My project list ideas are just way too long. It's just, I know I'll never get to half of them because it just keeps filling up with a lot more. It's much faster than I can produce even half of it. And the more you make, the more ideas you get. So the more of the ideas you can't do because you just have so many ideas. All the stuff. I love the acorn print. Yes, there are so many cute ones. I'm gonna have to find something to use at least some of them for, I feel, because it's so cute. A patchwork project for a nice bag or something. Yeah, something. I have not decided. I haven't had, like, sometimes I'll look at a fabric multiple times and wait for, inspiration to strike and be like, that is the thing that I want to do with the cute fabric. And then we can do the thing that sparks joy. It says they remember learning how to crochet when they were a young child. And doing the granny square around 7 years old? Yeah, that about tracks. Granny squares are such a good place to start because this covers so many things. And you get to do a small project that doesn't take up too much yarn or time for children who are learning. I remember my grandmother put me on round needles first because they are a good place to start. At least I think that was what she did. But then, of course, warning of twisting anything so that it ends up as a Möbius loop rather than a long, I don't even remember what I was knitting. A long string of something. Could just have been for fun. Lynn says, to be honest, I wouldn't buy ahead nearly as much if I hadn't become so hard to find any remotely decent fabric. I know, right? And most of the places that I visit, at least, they have fabric that mostly caters to quilters and people wanting to make clothes for their children, which that fabric isn't very good quality either, but it will have all of the prints that are kind of, I don't really want this for adult wear. This is more child wear to me. And it's very hard to find good quality, densely woven stuff. It's getting frustrating. I once found a little website in Norway that had some proper Oxford, I think they called it Oxford shirt fabric, for the kind of dress shirts that men wear, like that thin but densely woven fabric. And they only had like 6 to 8 different fabrics. And yet I was so tempted because how often do you find dress fabric? And, you know, in their bio, they talked about how their store exists because of that, because they too wanted to sew but couldn't find any actually nice fabrics that they wanted to wear that were similar to, you know, some of the fabrics, at least in feel, that they could find in some shirts. Not that fast fashion stuff is good, but they have some different qualities. And if you can find a good quality weave, it's so satisfying, and it can be so difficult. Fritzl says that their local fabric shop recently closed due to the owners retiring. Oh no! That is not very fun at all. It will be even harder to find fabric than... Yeah, fabric shops are closing at an alarming rate everywhere. It's just not... It's hard enough as it is to find good fabric, and then they are already vanishing too. And Steve says they largely find their fabric at the thrift shop. I have someone else's stash of wool fabric and I really should get to work on. That is cool. I love people, or like areas where you can find a lot of stuff in the thrift shops. I've talked about that, but we went to Sweden with spouse for a little mini vacation, and we stopped by the local charity shop, and I suddenly understood why so many Swedish sewists talk about going to the thrift shops to find old bed linens and fabrics for sewing and curtains, because there was so much nice, tightly woven linen or cotton, and I was just amazed. I wanted to bring so much of it home. We didn't have room for all of it. I got some of it. But that is not something that I see very often in Norwegian charity shops. If there are curtains, they are usually synthetic and not very nice. I wouldn't want a garment out of them, but they had so much good stuff. I was completely shocked, and so many differences in charity shops, depending on where you are. It's kind of amazing. Fritzl says, I bought 2 wool fabrics, one Laura Ashley online secondhand this week. Ooh, that sounds very nice. It's hard to resist when you find really pretty fabrics. Last year, like just before the holidays, when you don't really have much spare cash at all, I came across an old traditional dress sewist who was retiring, and they were selling out some of their home stash for a very reasonable price. I think it was 70% off, something like that. And it was good quality wool. It was good quality cotton sateen. I really wanted it, and I was like, I can't. But I'll favorite it, you know, maybe it'll stay until next year. Maybe it'll go stay up for a while. But it didn't. It got sold, and I was like, oh well, maybe next time. Here in the US, one of our largest crafting store chains is closing 300 out of their 500 stores. Oof, that's gonna be rough for people who already live in rural areas, especially, I think. Yeah, they're closing everywhere in Norway too. You're lucky usually if you have more than 2 fabric shops in a city, and then it would have to be a larger city if you have a fabric shop at all. We are good at yarn shops though. Norwegians do like their knitting, so that is a little bit more common, at least for now. Let's hope it stays that way. Hopefully the independent shops will get more traffic. I mean, we can hope. That would be very nice. It's very nice when if you have independent shops to support them, because they're often so flexible. And I mean, I was talking to one of where we lived before, the fabric shop there, and I was asking about a fabric that I'd seen in their shop like 20 years ago. And they remembered not only did they remember which fabric I was talking about, but she pulled out her sample book and was like, we still use this supplier. I can order a bolt for you. I was just amazed because chains don't do that. They have their stock and that's it. But she was just like, no, we have our suppliers, we have relationships with them, and if it's still in stock, then yeah, we can totally get it for you, which I think is really, really cool. And I want to support that kind of stuff. Good afternoon, Blue Iris. Welcome. I hope you are having a decent day. Another bird of similar feathers. I see. Says you have some gorgeous quilting cotton for making aprons. I love the Chicken Army and Chicken Run the movie. Someone has really been scrolling up the chat. Welcome. I hope you have a good time of day. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of us have similar, like sometimes the material comes first and sometimes the project comes first, which makes sense. It's interesting that so many seem to have a very similar, like, mid-range approach rather than strongly one or the other. Haley says, I've actually noticed when looking through the closure list from Joanne's that it seems a lot of smaller towns are keeping their store. Oh, that is good. That is so good. I was worried that, already rural areas would be getting even longer to drive to get, but maybe they are like kind of keeping their store because they actually use their store. I don't know. We don't know a lot about, running a craft store numbers. Gotta go have a good rest of the day, everyone. Have a good one, Etienne. I hope you have a good rest of your day too, whatever shenanigans your day includes. I mean, since you are across the pond, you still have a lot of day left, not like us in Europe where the day is pretty much winding down at this point unless you have a non-sun dependent day rhythm, which could be very much the case. I swear, crochet and knitting is an everlasting test of whether or not you can count, and usually answering no to that question. Where are you? You're not supposed to twist like that. Stop it. There we go. Joanne Fabrics must have been on a franchise model. It's the only thing that makes multiple stores in a small area. What a shame. Yeah, it is a big shame. Nice yarn bowl. Hello, back to you. The Jones. Welcome. Yes, thank you. It was a birthday gift from spouse, and I am very fond of it. It does very well with round balls of yarn, and it's very if you don't have a yarn ball and you want one, I can recommend if they have heft. Like, this is some sort of dense wood. It's quite heavy, and at first I was like, why is it so heavy? But now, when I've had, as big of a ball of yarn that it can handle, I understand that you want it to be heavy at the bottom so it doesn't slide after when you pull on your yarn. So it's supposed to be heavy, something that I did not know and would not have considered if I had bought one myself. But no, it was a gift from a spouse for a birthday one year, and I try to use it whenever I can. Lynn says there's an expensive independent fabric shop in my city that I used to go to a lot, but even they don't have the fine linen that I want. I can't make a shirt with fine gathers if the fabric is too thick. Yeah, it's so hard to find thin, nice linens. We have a friend who's a goldsmith and goes to Egypt to buy supplies and materials there, and sometimes she brought back like really thin linen that I've been using in some of my videos that is really super fine, and I feel so lucky to have them do that. But yeah, it's very hard. I've never seen it in shops, which is interesting because why wouldn't other people also want that kind of stuff? It is so nice and breathable in summer. Like, surely there would be a market for this, one would think. I don't understand. Haley says, I live in a smallish town and we don't have a local fabric shop, so Joann's is always busy. We do have a local yarn shop though, and they are wonderful. That is very cool. Yeah, I mean, when people don't have alternatives, I mean, you go to the chains because they are what you have. We have a similar problem in Trondheim where there is just a chain. As far as I know, I think there are a few smaller shops in the city, but they cater more to, from what I've seen, children's clothes. And there is a haberdashery though that has been running since the 1800s, which is really cool. And they have all sorts of zippers and buttons and sewing tools and knickknacks, and it's a really cute shop. I like it a lot. And you want to support it because it's been there for so long. So it's very cool. I think it's 1884 or something like that. I can't remember. Maybe I'm completely wrong again. This has happened on stream before. Let's see how old it is. M. Sommer, when were you established? And am I completely saying nonsense again? Come on, when were you? You updated your website. Good on you. Nice. When were you established? Come on, you used to have this. There you go. About us, surely. They celebrated 135 years. Some time ago. But when? Aha! 1887. So well done on them. It's really cool of them to have survived thus far. Must away for a work meeting. I hope you have a good work meeting, Haley. Best of luck with that. So Iris says, I love tea parties, and a friend recently gifted me a flat sheet printed with original John Tenniel illustrations of Alice in Wonderland. Oh, that is lovely. Sadly, its poly cotton blend will become a pinafore. At least it's still a cool print, though. It's sometimes even if it's difficult fabric, it can still become something cool, especially when someone thought of you and you feel seen, and it's glorious. This lace is becoming so obnoxiously big, like it's gonna be the size. I did not think about this when I started working on it, but I mean, one repeat is gonna be the size of my hand when it's done, because I didn't consider that because wool yarn is thicker than, you know, a lot of the cottons that you're using to crochet with normally, a detailed pattern like this is gonna become big. It's gonna become very big. It shall be cool though. I will enjoy it a lot. It will be very visible. I did want lace with, you know, very defined scallops, because sometimes if the scallops are very small, they don't really create a level change, if you know what I mean. Like they kind of, from afar, they kind of look the same height because they're all the scallops are so small that they're all kind of like within the same height. So I was looking for something a bit detailed because I wanted really defined scallops. So I got my wish. These are definitely properly defined scallops. I recently finished my 2 fully embroidered scissor sheets for my scissors. I love making my own kit for the supplies. Oh, that is so cool. I think that is a lot of fun too, and then you can customize it however you want. And it's so nice to have nice things around you, and especially when you can make it for yourself and others. It's just the best. And embroidery is such a, like, it's a nice craft because you can do so much with so little supplies, and I personally enjoy crafts that take few supplies but a lot of time. That is something that I had from when I was a student, when, you know, money is very limited, so you need something that will last you months and months and months and months when you buy supplies for something, because you can't just go out and buy a lot of stuff all the time. So you need something that is, you know, cost efficient depending on time, and card weaving decidedly was, because when you had a spool of thread, you could weave a lot. And same with embroidery, I feel like you can do so much work with relatively small amounts of supplies, and it'll be very time consuming, which is good if you don't have a lot of cash. So it's one of the reasons I gravitate towards small projects, because they are in some ways very cost efficient. The Alice in Wonderland fabric is even blue on white print, my favorite color combinations. That is very sweet of them. I have a blue dress, so a meta Alice style pinafore to look like Alice at a tea party. Ooh, I love that idea. That sounds great. Embroidered scissor sheets sound awesome. Yeah, I should do something better for my scissors too. Like, they have some very basic sheaths, but I could definitely do with a little bit more details. Yes, a lot of good encouragement of the meta Alice in Wonderland apron for the Alice in Wonderland blue dress. It's gonna be a very nice project in the end. I'm one of the people who find knitting easier than crochet, because when I have a set number of stitches, if I'm just doing stockinette or something, I can just go. But with crochet, I feel like I have to be paying attention all of the time. I'm always counting. I can never just go for rows and rows and rows. I suppose if I was doing just rows and rows of plain crochet stitches, but usually a pattern is not just plain crochet stitches, although it looks like the next row might be. That's going to be an interesting one. It's probably going to take a while. You did the sheets as a variation of the same pattern of flowers, but in a different color combo for each scissor. I love that. When things like fit together, but they're not exactly the same. Oh, very, very satisfying. Very, very fun. I like when people are just like combining mediums, like combining crafting styles too, like sewing for the sheet and embroidery on it. Like, I find it's just so satisfying. Amigurumi is great for empty brain crochet. Interesting. I had thought amigurumi would be very detailed in terms of pattern reading, because you're always increasing or decreasing or like counting, making sure you're on the right row. I had not considered that as an empty-ish brain crochet type style, even though you're mostly using just very dense crochet stitches, because you have to pay so much attention to where you're going. I suppose it depends on how big the project is and how you're keeping track of your stitches. Spells is really good at crochet, and they will use stitch markers all the time to mark rows and stitches and everything so that they know where they are. I think it's very clever. And as you can see, not something I'm good at doing at all. No stitch markers in sight. But only once I had the different scallops marked out and counted, it was kind of easier to keep track of where I was. Blue Iris says, I've done a little card weaving, but with 3 younger cats who I fear will be far too interested in playing with the weaving. I hope to take it up in a couple of years. Yeah, I can understand that kind of thinking. I had to do the same with bobbin lace, because Soot liked to pull out pins if I forgot to shut the door, or like in a unattentive moment, if I was turned my back for too fast, she would just pull out. So I kept being worried that she would pull out, that she would hurt herself and get a needle stuck in her mouth or something, because she would just like pull it out and drop it on the floor. For some reason, I think she found it fun. But I was so worried that she would have one actually hurt her and get stuck. So I was like, yeah, no. I had been given a pillow to borrow from a friend who had 2, but I was like, I have to give this back to you, because I am too terrified that I will forget to close the door on the cat and something will happen and it will be bad. And yeah, curious cats are definitely something impacting what I am and I'm not doing. Luckily, they are not super interested in the yarn while I'm working on it. At night, though, it has to be hidden, but while it's being used is fine. Kelly says, I'm crocheting 10 rows, 71 each, still counting each row. Yeah, so much counting all of the time. Good evening, Alex. Welcome. We have a very chill. Wait, it's almost 7 already. I haven't seen an ad break. Did I miss it? Did I not notice the ad break and forget to tell people that, and not to mention forget that we actually pause for ads? Whoops. That was not. Brain, why are you like this? I was thinking we had been going for a while and I hadn't even noticed. It's because you all are too interesting and say too many fun things. I shall blame it on that. If you use a contrast yarn as row counter, it's very easy to go on autopilot and just check when you get close to the end. That is very true. That is the original stitch marker for me is a piece of contrast thread. That is what my mother and my grandmother and everyone I knew was using before stitch markers were a thing with their cute little charms, which I admit are very cute and I can be. I have been known to be very influenceable, especially if they are like cute little black cats or sewing machines or things like that. I have been known to be influenceable in the stitch marker department, but when I grow up, and I still will return to just a piece of contrasting thread because it works so well and I can count rows with it. I can, it isn't in the way. I don't have to worry about my needle getting stuck in it. It's just, it is fantastic. Especially the fact that I can count, not just see the beginning of a new round, but I can see how many rounds I've done and keep counting. It is very nice. Yes, I missed one. Whoops. Yeah, that was not my intention. I just completely, I didn't even see it. I completely missed the notification. It's, maybe it's just one of those days. Max says, maybe I could ask my sister if she could dress up as Alice for Halloween. Well, what would you dress up to match her? Like, it seems... I don't know much about your American Halloween culture, but it seems like if you're asking someone to dress up as something, it's because you are, like, a team in dressing up, so that you are, like, a collaborative effort dressing up. I might be wrong about that, though. I never did much dressing up as a child. Immobilized by Lap Kitty. Ah, that's very sweet, Blue Iris. Yeah, I had one. She was seeming to get settled, but then Spouse made an interesting noise, so she ran off again. I'm trying to like put this so you can actually see it, but my instinct is to grab it and pull it up against my eyes so I can see. So I can see, but you are also supposed to be seeing, so that is kinda where we're at with that. I made a teddy bear for my niece in all binding, but I'm not sure if it's considered amigurumi or not. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You had fun, you made a cool thing. Whether or not it has a name is kind of... It has the flavor of amigurumi, if it is, even if it is different stitches. And that is... I like mixed media and combining crafts. I think it is. Yeah, Lynn also says I think it is. So why not? It absolutely can be amigurumi because you have the same kind of thinking. Did I just miss an ad break again? Am I not getting the counter anymore? YouTube, is it you or is it me? I'm always inclined to think it's me because I am a bit frazzle-brained today, but Hello, Emma. Welcome. I hope you're having a good day. It's very nice people welcoming each other. I think it's very sweet. It's a very sweet chat we have. It's very nice to have people being nice to each other. I hope you are working on something fun or even just resting. I am trying to count. I need to count alternately to 4 and then to 6, which you all know it's hard enough to try to count to the same thing over and over again, so when you have to alternate, we're in for a ride. Just got an ad break for Shen Yun. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, so I did miss one. Interesting. I saw the little thing pop up, but I didn't see the countdown. Oh, is it because... Oh, I hadn't clicked on all of my stuff. There's a new setting in YouTube where the stream doesn't pop up automatically, even though the chat is here in OBS. I had to choose the stream in the other on the corner. That is why I haven't been seeing it. It's because I didn't set up things correctly. It is indeed not YouTube, it is indeed me. No big surprise there. So maybe we will remember that for next time. It's because the host is very nice and she has created a lovely community. Well, thank you, Fritz Souls. We try to encourage a healthy social contract of sorts, because I mean all relations are some sort of back and forth, but like in a healthy way, not in a pressure and negative stuff way. Mine was for EQA Egg Farmers. It was a very short ad. I have the impression that a lot of ads on lives are fairly short, but I'm not sure. Since I don't see them, I just see the data, but although hopefully I will get a little better data now. So that means we have missed multiple calls for hydration, so let's do a good one. I have my February Love Moomin Cup, the only Moomin Cup I own in the whole wide world. It was a gift for our 1-year wedding anniversary for a friend of ours who was cat-sitting while we were away. And when we came back, this cup and some other very cute little gifts was sitting on a table in the living room, which was very, very sweet of them. It was very, very cute. A lot of Scandinavian homes have cupboards full of Moomin cups. They are very popular, especially because you get them as a blood donor. You don't get any money for donating blood in Norway because there are rules against, medical, what shall I call it? You cannot be bribed with money for giving of your body to other people. So the blood banks instead get donations from like Moomins. I don't know if they're donations or if they have to buy them. I assume there's some kind of system. But they have gifts, and you can choose like pretty kitchen towels or Moomin cups or various things. So you always get a gift when you donate blood, but they are not allowed to pay you for the service because that creates an incentive that is discouraged. That is not something we want to do in Norway, at least. So it's one of the reasons that they are just everywhere in Norway. In a lot of cupboards, people will collect them and they will get a different one each time they donate blood, which is a very cool way to get people to give blood. Although, like most countries, we are still struggling with enough blood sometimes. And people will go out in the news if something has happened and be like, we need blood donors of type XYZ because something has happened. We had a flyer through the door for them the other day. It went straight into the recycling. That's a flyer for Shen Yun, who are a Falun Gong org and not the egg people. Interesting. I have not even heard of them. I have not even seen their stuff at all. So many stuff that I have not even heard of. My husband has installed an ad blocker on our local network, so I also don't get any ad breaks when on Wi-Fi. That is interesting. Wait, there's places where you get money for donating? Well, I have the impression that some places in the US, like, that's one of the ways people can pay their bills, which is really sad, like by donating them blood plates and stuff like that. I'm not sure though, since I don't live in the US and I just hear anecdotal stories, but it is very much not allowed here, so I could not tell you. In the Netherlands, you only get a gift every few times, like the 1st, the 5th, the 10th, 25th, and 50th. Oh, interesting. You know, in Norway you get a gift every time. And you also get, like fruits and snacks and cookies and orange juice, apple juice, all sort of electrolyte and sugar-rich foods because while you're there, because they need you to keep your blood sugars up. I tried giving blood. I couldn't, so I very much admire those who can. Yeah, I know, Soot. Spouse close to the door. I know. It's because he gets a bit shy sometimes. Give me just a moment and I'll see if I can let the little beastie in. I know, Soot. I'm coming. Oops, I'm sorry for knocking on the microphone. Boop. I don't think they can even give items here. I've never seen it, just for food so you don't crash on the way out. Yeah, we do have food too. Oh, look who it is. We have a guest. A floofy little sweetie. Don't think they can even give items here. That is interesting. Yeah. But I do kind of understand it too, though. They don't want people to do it for financial reasons. We do get fed and hydrated as well. Yeah, that is very common. Shenyon is a cult, so I guess it's good that you haven't heard about it where you are. Oh, interesting. Yeah, we have a few cults in Norway too, because, I mean, they are everywhere, but... Oh. I only gave plasma as my iron was always too low when I came back a month or two after I donated, so I had to wait longer to donate again. Yeah, I've tried donating, and then I talked to a friend who works in a blood bank, and because I most likely have a hereditary autoimmune disease, but it hasn't been diagnosed, so I could technically try to donate, but it would be a bit immoral to do so when I'm like most likely a carrier. It just hasn't struck yet. Like I have, I don't know if you can see this, but my pinky finger is very, like, this joint right here is very thick and big. This it's a bit misshaped. You can't really see it properly, but it's a bit misshaped. And my father has the same thing, except his is much more pronounced. And it isn't painful. It just can't stretch any more than this, whereas my other fingers, they can stretch properly, but this one is kind of stuck. And this is a type of gout that my dad has, that I probably have too, because I have this. But it takes a while for it to get diagnosed because I'm still fairly young. So since all types of rheumatism are gout and rheumatism similar? No, they're not. So since this is a type of rheumatism, and rheumatisms are categorized as autoimmune disorders, I shouldn't be donating because they don't want that kind of blood to potentially be harmful to any of the patients. But I have tried before I knew, and they can't even get the blood out of me because my body does not like having blood taken out of it. I just faint, and they couldn't even fill the bag. So yeah, I was more of a bother than anything else. So I greatly admire those who are able to and try to contribute in other ways. But I am not able to give blood. Let's see, you settle there. Can I? There we go. Black flu, slightly more in frame. Lynn says, I used to donate regularly before chronic illness hit. They had a bad time doing it because my veins were so flimsy, which should probably have been a hint of things to come. I suppose, yeah. Mine collapse really easily, so they can have a really hard time too. In Canada, blood donors get pins for milestone gifts, but otherwise only food and drink. Oh, interesting. It's so different for like a very crucial service, but still kind of a similar idea. They made a big mess of it when I tried to give blood once. I've been hesitant to do it again. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, I've never had a negative experience, but I do get, like the one time I tried, I do get super pale and faint, and like, so the blood, the bioengineers were like, you are probably not cut out for this. Even before I knew that I shouldn't, because I'm probably a carrier of an autoimmune disease. I wanted to give plasma because rare blood type. Yeah, at least mine isn't rare. Grandma had O, but I do not, which is very attractive because you can give it to anyone. Hey, sweetie. But yeah, that is not I. No, darling, you cannot use my crochet hook as a chewing toy. I know it looks very much like a chewing toy, but it is not. The doctor told me that I'm not allowed to donate blood because of my organ transplant and the medication I take for it. I mean, that is very true. So we listen to the doctor when they tell us we can't do certain things as much as possible. So, and we listen to professionals when they are like, yeah, even though you're not officially diagnosed, it's still best to be on the safe side. It's always nice to be on the safe side about such things, because if you need blood transfusions, you are not in a good spot to be fighting off random shenanigans in the first place. I think they keep track of how many blood donations you gave over time in Ontario, and you get a congratulatory something like a keychain after a certain amount of donations. I like that too. It's like a little surprise gifts for funsies. The nurses assigned to plasma are the best at pricking, as a leak will result in the worst bruise. Yeah, that is very true. And it's very sad because they are also a bioengineer themselves, so they know how to draw blood, but a friend of mine was... So there can be some personal gains to giving blood as well. I mean, one is that you are replenishing your blood, which can be really healthy for people if you eat enough iron. But we have a friend who was going to give blood, and he had a bit, like his plate count was a little bit low, just a little bit under the average. And their colleague, oh, hi sweetie. And their colleague told them that it's, probably nothing, but it is a little bit low, so you should go to your doctor and get it checked out properly. And it turns out it was leukemia, and they would not have caught it that early if he hadn't gone to donate blood and his friend had highlighted it for him. So still an awful thing to have, but better catching it slightly earlier than he otherwise might have. Alex says, I wish I could give blood, seeing as I have O negative. Yeah, we want to, but it's not always possible, so just be grateful for the people who do give. Don't I have the cutest snugglebug? Like, look at her. Can I, like, shift this one? Like, she's, like, curled up against me. Like a child. Best donor type for plasma is AB positive, I'm pretty sure. Ah, cool. I think I was... What was my blood type? I think it was B negative. So not a terribly rare one. But yeah. I have a rare blood type, but they also don't need it very much, so plasma was much better choice for me, and I could donate every 2 weeks instead of 2 months ago. That is a very good point, yeah. Maybe I could donate platelets. Can you donate platelets if you have rheumatism? Probably not. I shall have to keep admiring my friends who are able to donate blood. But I am an organ donor if anything was to happen. Because that at least can be also very helpful. Very cute Snuggly Void? Yes, she is very cute Snuggly Void. The best little void. Here to give the fans what they want. I also caught my graves returning by seeing my heart rate during the checkup for donating plasma. It was like 185 or something. Oof, yeah, that's really, really high. Yeah, that's interesting what you can get that can get caught while doing other stuff. You don't donate blood, but your mother does? Yeah, there's lots of reasons why people might not be able to donate blood. So I'm always very grateful for those who are able to. Is my nose so itchy? My blood type is A negative. Clearly I like to joke, but saying that I got an A- on my test, yeah, it's always a lot of good. I had a friend who told me that their doctor said they needed to be positive about stuff because that was kind of how they remembered that they were B positive. This is the only reason I could even remember that I think my blood type is B negative, but I don't remember. I only had it checked that one time I was trying to be a blood donor but couldn't be, and I haven't really had cause to know it since. It reminds me that I need to go get a blood test because my doctor is worried about my fatigue levels. Not looking forward to getting yelled at by the tech about my weight like always. Yeah, that is no fun. Especially when that is not kind of related to why one is there. It's kindly focus on the things we are here to do. So I hope you manage to go get the test that you need to have done, even if the techs are less than kind. I hope you still do the thing that is good for your health. Can be very challenging when all they want to focus on is the weight. Luckily I have at least a doctor who does not focus on that. Yeah, it's can be no fun. Kelly says mine is A positive. So then you can tell people that you are a positive person. Like no matter. Oh, my nose is really itchy. How rude. It appears I can no longer work on my crocheting because someone else has claimed my lap. Steve says, I am O positive. I can't really donate blood because of my meds, but was really happy when I could donate. Yeah, I have friends and family members who are able to donate too, and it's really, really helpful. And I've had other friends too who are able to donate breast milk, and the NICUs are so grateful for that too. It can be super, super, super helpful if one is able to. But again, not everybody can, which is, they know that very well, which is why they are so grateful to the people who can. I have a very bad tendency to avoid my GP because of the way thing. Yeah, exactly. And then other health issues can be difficult. It is no fun. So my sympathies to everything. It is. It is a difficult thing. Cat petting is much more important than crochet. That is true. It is, after all, the cat cam and not the crochet cam. And, Madam has to show up for her adoring fans. We all know this channel is just a way for Madam to be shared with the world, isn't it? And then sleep in odd positions. Yeah, we're incredibly lucky with our GP. It's very frustrating if you have a doctor who's not listening to you, which is sadly all too common. I recently requested a new dental hygienist because I need someone to help me improve instead of being scolded for not doing it right. That is a good way of phrasing it. Like, people don't know, especially when you're a professional at something. You take things for granted. When I had a herniated disc in my back, I found that very frustrating. My doctor was on leave, so I had a step in. I had a different doctor while she was off doing a professional furthering thingamajig. And I got the impression from everyone I talked to, you know, the physiotherapist and the doctor and everyone, that a herniated disc is so commonplace. It's kind of so boring. Like, if one can say such a thing, that the doctors are kind of like, yeah, just walk as much as possible and you're pretty much good to go, no problem. And I found that really frustrating because it may be very, very common for them, but it was the very first time I experienced anything like it, so I didn't know. And also, when you have a brain that is quite literal, what is walk as much as possible? Go for walks multiple times a day. Like, what specifically does that mean? What are we aiming for? This is a very vague target. So I was very frustrated, and also, of course, in quite a bit of pain because it hit the nerve to the right leg. And I didn't feel like I was getting help. I went to a physiotherapist thinking they would help, but they just gave me a printout of things to do at home and sent me home again, and no follow-up appointment. And I was just feeling stuck until I was limping around, and my neighbor saw me, and they had been sent to some like back pain management school because they were on sick leave, and you know, as an effort to get them back to work, they were sent to this rehabilitation program about back pain and stuff like that. So they were the one, you know, a random relationship between two neighbors was the one that gave me the tips and tricks I needed to get better properly and fast. Not the people, the medical professionals, because I got the impression that they just kind of, oh yeah, but it's just a prolapse, it's just a herniated disc, this is not interesting, this is not exciting medicine. So I can definitely understand that kind of frustration, Fritzels, because just because it's obvious to someone, especially a professional, doesn't mean it's obvious to everyone else. I recently had a dentist teach me how to floss because they were assuming I wasn't flossing, but I told them, no, I floss every night, and she was like, all right then, well, in that case, let me show you a little video of how to floss. So now I know how to floss because I was doing it wrong. And I didn't know. I thought I was doing it right. And I so appreciate the professionals who take the time to deal with those basic things, because we don't know what we don't know. Fun fact, they won't even accept breast milk donations here if you haven't had a child recently. Interesting. Since people will breastfeed for quite a while. But yeah. If we could just shed the pounds easily, don't they think we would? Yeah, it's all that weight to carry around is not easy for anyone. So if it was that easy, and the whole, you know, calories in equals calories out myth has been debunked so many times, because our bodies are way more complex than just 1 + 1. There are so many hormones and systems that act when we are in a calorie deficit to fight us, to get us back to where the body wants us to be, that yeah, no. It has been debunked many times, and yet we still meet it at the doctor's office, frustratingly. the replacement is such an improvement. That is so good. It's so good when you get someone you can actually work with more easily. Steve says, I haven't been to the dentist in too long a time. Too expensive. Yeah, it is very expensive. We are waiting for the federal government to expand the senior dental program. Ah, yeah. I have been. We got a little bit of money, so I was able to pull. I have been supposed to pull my wisdom teeth for a while, and no one told me that you were supposed to do it in your early 20s because they're apparently easier to get out then. I did not know this, and did not have the money for it in any way, but we had some money and we put it on the dentist, and that was very good to get a bit of a cleanup done. Now I hope they shall keep for quite a while. You thought about changing, but aside from the weight comments, the doctors at the surgery are generally good and the other surgeries have bad reps. Yeah, it is always a consideration between different things, isn't it? You know, it's frustrating even so. Getting quite medical, but so interesting because a lot of the doctor systems around the world seem to be quite similar and yet very different in many different ways. Yeah, we were such fans of our doctor that even when we moved, we refused to change, which everyone was giving us flack for. But now that we moved back, we're very happy to still be with the same doctor because she is fantastic. And yeah, I don't mind waiting for her to be available. I just hope she doesn't burn out because she be working a lot. My temporary crown came out this afternoon, so I have to go back tomorrow only to get the temp crown this Monday. Oh no, oh that sounds like a lot of dental work. That sounds very, oof. Yeah, I should go to the dentist too. It's been a while since I had a checkup last. Luckily, a knock on wood, I haven't had any issues apart from having to pull my wisdom teeth, which there was no room for. Luckily, I only had the bottom set. It hasn't really been I haven't really had any cavities yet or other issues, so I'm, yeah, knock on wood, very, very lucky in that regard. It's difficult to keep the camera on you when you keep moving, you know? It's a good thing that the year recently started, so I still have some coverage to burn. In Norway, it's kind of the opposite way around. I mean, we do have, it's still much cheaper than the US and that kind of thing. But we have the free healthcare thing, but there's like a small cap at the beginning of the year that's like around $300, I should say, for some services, for like doctor's offices and things like that. So the first few months of the year will often be very expensive for disabled folks because they spend those first couple of months paying those, say, $300 until they sort of reach a cap, and then they get sent a card by the government that the rest of their doctor's appointments are covered by the state. So, and also some of the medication that people are on. So I know a lot of people who sort of ration their medical appointments in the beginning of the year because it can get really expensive until they get their free card, as it is known. And we are about to have ads, and I can see them now. So we are going to have a hydration break because I didn't see it earlier. You are very cute. Even if you just come here for a bath. The diagonals on this pattern are driving me insane. The floats would be ridiculously long, so I'm trying to keep them between the two layers instead, but it's so finicky. Ooh, I believe that. That does sound very finicky. I assume you're going to do like some sort of stitch on top to catch them, or are you doing the little stitches first and then floating on top? I've seen some sashiko patterns where you make little stitches and you float into hexagon patterns, and they're really cute. Float patterns always flabbergast me because on one hand I want to draw the floats first and then tie them down with tiny stitches, but to get it even, is it easier to do the tiny stitches first? Ah, it's finicky because there's already so many stitches in the fabric. Yeah, I can see that. Well, you finished your bath, so you're leaving us again. Am I just a bathtub to you, madam? Farewell. Oh well, that means we have time for a few more stitches before we are done for the day. Let's see. Where did my stitch go? There we are. So one thing that's scary about crocheting is that I'm always worried that I'm going to lose my stitch and end up unraveling loads of stuff before I know it. Okay, we have done 6 here, so we are doing 4. No, you hide the floats between 2 layers of fabric so they don't show on the surface and can't catch on anything. Clever. I too like to do that, especially if I'm doing like a fuzzy wool. Even if it's just a single layer, you can still hide threads and floats pretty well in a fluffy wool, which is very nice. I do like to have a nice back and, you know, hiding the thread. It's very satisfying in a way, even if it takes time you probably don't have. We have similar health coverage as Norway, but dental care isn't included in the regular coverage. Same. Dental and optics, because eyes and teeth are not part of the body, apparently. They are subsidized though, but they are not covered by this system, so you do have to pay, regardless of time of year. Let's see, not included in the regular coverage, so we have an add-on for that. The add-on covers a certain amount for the year. Ah, we don't have that in Norway. In Norway, the dentists are just subsidized, so sort of it's expensive, but it's less expensive than it would have been if they weren't subsidized. So I'm very happy that they are. And they also generally have student discounts and disability discounts, luckily, so that some people can get some help, because them bills be costly. And luckily also my eyes are pretty stable, so I've been able to have these glasses for a long time. Also really helps because that can also get quite pricey. No, you did do one too many. Another one. I use a plastic safety pin type stitch if I have to put crochet down so I don't unravel the whole lot. Yeah, Spouse uses the same thing. They will use like a little plastic stitch marker, and I should probably do that, but I haven't. Whenever I sit down to work on this, I haven't been in range of my box of stitch markers, and then I put it down and then I forget because I have a brain like Swiss cheese and I need to take notes or things just get forgotten. What on earth is up with eyes and teeth not being included in healthcare? I know, right? It is a bit strange, and yet it just seems to be the case in most of the world. I haven't heard of anywhere where that kind of isn't strangely excluded, which, yeah, what can we do? Children under 18 are covered though. Yeah, same in Norway. And young ones, I think up to 23, 21 or 23 are also heavily subsidized to try to sort of tide you over a little bit from being completely free to being thrown into the very pricey system. So students generally are also very heavily discounted, which can help. I think it's 23. Could be 21, but at least there is a period of time that you also get. I think 70% off for a few years before you are full adult charge. But that was for dentists. Glasses was not covered, at least not for me when I was a child, so that was difficult. The UK has a dentist on the NHS, but it's subsidized, not free. Eye tests are free if you have certain conditions, but otherwise aren't covered at all. Yeah, it's I assume it's similar here too, like most. Sometimes you can apply to sort of get paid back later, like you pay if you have a sort of specific condition that has been pre-approved, you can pay it and then send the bill to the government and apply to get it covered, but that it doesn't often happen. Sometimes same with meds, but it is a bit of a hit and miss whether it actually works or not. Systems like this are interesting. How they have figured out how to do it. But how's everyone's projects coming along? If you're working on something and not just resting. You know, Lynn is fighting with floats. And Haley is in a meeting, so we don't get to know what happened to all of the 5 projects at once. Ooh, I have a crochet question, which someone of you who are better at crochet than me might be able to answer. Because I don't know if I can show you this. I don't think you can see this. It's way too small. But when I connect to the bottom row, my instinct, because I like symmetry, is to grab like sort of both stitches for the stitch. But I think I've seen some people grab only one. You know, when you do a chain stitch, you have a loop. And I've seen people put their crochet hook through only the first sort of point in the loop. But my sort of instinct is to pull it through both, because then it gets a little bit more equal in my head. And I have never actually sat myself down to Google which is what you're supposed to do. I assume it's only one at a time because I'm probably not doing it right, but it does work though. I was just looking up what I needed to start on the whale, as I have another half hour before I need to start baking the puffertjes. Ah, yes. Planning and finding the supplies is often half the work. Like, whenever I think that I can just sit myself down and start filming a video, I'll spend at least a day planning and finding my stuff and figuring out how to do things. And I'm trying to just accept that that is how it is. But it's frustrating still. It's like, yeah, but shouldn't we just be able to film the thing? Nope. Planning takes time. And if you don't plan, it becomes chaos anyway. So, you know, it is very necessary. Emma says, I'm working on actually organizing my yarn stash. That will be nice when you actually have an organized yarn stash, though. It's very nice. Surely the bureaucracies involved in denying services cost more than simply providing the service, one would think, right? But alas. Lynn says, normally the pattern will tell you if you need to go through a specific loop. Interesting. I don't. I mean, I can tell which stitch it's supposed to go through, even if I don't see specifically. Interesting also, here you have like 5 stitches on top of 4 chains later in the next row, so that'll be interesting. Alex says, I'm spinning at the moment for my sheep to sweater. And last weekend I did a lot of dyeing with cochineal. Yeah, we saw the pictures in the Discord. It did look like a lot of fun. Lisette de Boer says the current standard is to do both. Okay, sometimes patterns specify that you are to use the back loop or the front loop. Huh, interesting. I gave up after turning a 3-inch cherry blossom petal inside out, having forgotten to clip it properly. Aw, yeah, sometimes it's best to take a break from a project if it is not collaborating with you. Headache day for me. I hope you have a good one, Blue Iris, and have some very necessary rest to take care of that headache. They are no fun and can really drain you, so I wish you the best of recovery. Same here. Children and seniors have dental coverage and vision care, but most working people in between have to pay unless they're on government programs for low-income families and disability. Yeah, it is indeed very similar here. And it can be a challenge because I know a lot of people who will avoid going to the dentist because they're kind of in between. They're not poor enough to get support, but they're not wealthy enough to pay the dentist bills. They end up not going for decades, and then they, of course, end up with very bad teeth and much more expensive problems down the line, which is also not great and not really what you want to have. I've seen a video about vintage crochet that said that crochet through the back loop used to be the standard for a more textured look. Huh. That is very interesting. I had not thought about it as a more textured. Cool. Learn something new every day. I'm gonna think about that now. Textured versus not textured crochet looks. They said is correct both because there are some patterns that want just front loop or just back loop. But, you know, Jinx, Leah, the third is that I am weird, so I am doing both because I feel like it's more symmetrical. It's probably how you're not supposed to do things. The 5 stitches might be into the big space formed by the chain stitches, not in the stitches themselves. I see your words, Lynn. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to execute that without putting some stitches either in between or 2 in the same one. I suppose we shall have to cross that bridge when we get to it. You're at the corner already. Last time I could not do corner in a... Well, I suppose we are almost... It is almost the end of the 2 hours, so that is almost like with the previous thing that we did, but we are at the corner. So we get to do corner things. Are there any interesting corner things on this pattern? So you will be stitching around the sort of cord formed by the chain stitches. Ah, now I understand what you mean. That could be. So I would just go under the whole thing. I did that when we were doing net bags. At least now I understand what you mean. That might be what we're dealing with. So that you get sort of 2 chains wrapped around, or like 1 chain wrapped around the other in a way. Huh. Are we still doing 4 and 6 and 4 and 6 for the corner? It looks like we are, just a few more repeats. Exactly, you crochet around the chain. Oh, so you're... Okay, it's good that I have people who are more crochet knowledgeable, because I would not have understood that from sort of this. Oops. From this alone. Now, wait. Show the camera the pattern. I would not have understood that from... Like, I know what the different stitches are, but I don't know what the different things signify. Why are you stuck in my sweater? Double crochet hooks are very convenient for having 2-in-1 tools, but they can get stuck in an awful lot of things. It's a good thing I asked you then, because that means that I know what to do for the next row when we are getting to the end of this one. Because I was curious. Thank you for that. You put your crochet in the big hole, yarn over from behind as if you'd gone through a stitch and wrap your stitch around the cord. That will be very cool to explore. Shall be doing that. Around both loops is the standard. Huh. There's so many things I do not know about crochet because I'm just sort of perusing it at my leisure. However, I'm kind of just, not learning formally, so just having fun trying to figure out patterns as I go, which is, I like diagrams. Just like with knitting, I prefer to have a diagram over a written pattern because I feel like I can read a diagram much faster than anything than a written pattern. So I will just grab a diagram and be like, I think the legends for this would be this, this, and this. Like, these are the stitches we are working with. And then sort of take it from there. And if it isn't completely correct, at least it ends up being a pattern of some kind. It's very helpful to have a collective brain that we can figure out things, or like there's always someone who knows something about something, which is very cool. So thank you for that. Now I know how the next row is going to go when we get that far. It is looking very spider webby and getting really big. Let's see if I can pull this one up so that it's, and show it closer to the camera. But yeah, gonna be as big as my hand when the repeats are done. Very big and very spider webby. I am a fan. I think you'd love Japanese crochet patterns. They have beautiful charts. Yes, Lizette. This printout is from a Japanese crochet book, because exactly as you say, I see the charts in Japanese knitting and crochet books and I just fall in love instantly. I have a unhealthy love for complex patterns. I have a whole printout set of Shetland lace patterns, and I don't always enjoy working on very complex things, especially if I am, say, talking to chat in a live stream and I need to focus on other things at the same time. But my goodness, do I love looking at them. They are so pretty and I want to do them because they are so gorgeous and they are so beautifully drawn. And oh yeah, I really should buy some Japanese pattern books because they are so intricate, and I admire them greatly, even if I just look at them and never do them, because I know they take so long when you do more complex things. But whenever I stumble upon a pattern on the intrawebs, they are just so lovely. There is just something about it that just speaks to my soul. I do love me a good diagram. But I mean, let's see if I can. I really should grab that stitch marker before I put this away. Let's see. Pardon? I can find my little stack of printouts, and if I can find the, well, here's some of them. This is a fairly easy Shetland lace pattern, and yet it is quite detailed. But like, where is the? Maybe if I mute myself while I am looking through it. Here's the one. This one is called Spider, Tree, and Diamond lace chart. So you have a really big, see if I can show, oops. really big sets of different things. I don't know which is which. My instinct is that I think maybe this is the tree, but I'm not sure. But I would go mad trying to follow something like this accurately, especially since it is lace on both the knit and the purl row, and that is kind of insane levels to me. But oh, they are so pretty, and I like to admire them and, you know, look at them, and probably never actually do them, but maybe one day. Hello, sweetie, are you back? Or are you just looking at me from the bottom of the floor? Those are pretty charts? Yes, they are such pretty charts. I think they are very nice. Pierrot yarn has many free Japanese knitting and crochet garment patterns online. Some are translated into English, but they are mostly just diagrams. Exactly. Diagrams transcends. Like, I have so many Russian lace knitting diagrams and Japanese lace knitting diagrams, and since they're diagrams, you can largely figure out what the different stitches are without a translation, which I think is really cool. Like, diagrams transcend language and board barriers. Whoop! Madam. I have to put the kids to bed. Hope you see you next week. I hope to see you too, Alex. Have a good one. Hope you have a good bedtime routine. Hello, sweetie. Why are you complaining? Why are you crying? Hi. Gonna go get some stuff done. I hope you have a good time doing that, Glad Hatter. Always nice to see familiar faces. And Fruitsil says my children should go to bed too, but they're still very much awake and cuddling. They are very sweet when they do that, though. I have some very fond memories of cuddling as a child. Hi, sweetie. I think we need to be wrapping up soon too. Even if you are being very sweet and very cute. Hi. Hit the like button? Well, yeah, for my little madam joining us, I think that is very warranted. She is very sweet after all. Oops. If we got halfway on one round, I consider that a success. Isn't that so? Sometimes I'm considering wearing a little lapel mic so that I can just pull it down towards her when she's purring, because she is so very, very sweet when she puts the purring machine on, but it's also very, very quiet. She does not have very loud purrs at all. Hope to see you next week. My tabby released me from cuddles. I'm tidying up my desk area. That is a very good thing to do. Sometimes, you know, time sitting down is determined by the cuddle ratios of our furry friends, which they help us rest, which is important. I have consumed all my tea. Rude. But I think I too shall be wrapping up for today. I hope you all have a very lovely rest of your day, rest of your week. It shall be the weekend soon, and health and everything permitting, I hope to see you again next week. As always, I don't always know whether I will have the health to do a live stream, so if you want updates on whether I am doing one on a Thursday or not, I generally try to write them in the Discord so that people know whether to expect one or not. So if you would like that, You can join. The link should be in the pinned comments if you are curious. If not, you will just have to live with maybe there is one, maybe there is not. But in any case, I hope you have a very lovely rest of your night and that you take care of yourself and take the time to rest. At other times during the week too. I know I'm pretty bad at sitting down and crafting other than this live stream, so this is helpful for me too. So for now, from this purring void, bye.